Hey, what's up? Nico DPS here once again, and today we're going to go over how you can be more efficient while you're farming your maps in Path of Exile. We're going to go over macros and softwares that you can use that can really help you a lot, save you a bunch of time, make it easier to price your items, things of that nature. We're going to go over how you roll your maps efficiently. We're going to go over a stash tab setup that can really help you be more efficient in between maps, as well as passive income strategies such as gym leveling in your offhand, right? Ways you can just generate more currency for basically no time and no cost whatsoever, just off the top, right? Extra money. So if that sounds interesting to you, or if that might be helpful for you, go ahead and stick around. And without further ado, let's get started. All right, so to kick things off, we're going to go over X mouse button control. This is part of the macros and softwares that you can use to really ramp up the efficiency in game. And what it allows you to do is it is a legal way that you can macro your mouse wheel up and down. This is what most people use it for. You can macro your mouse wheel up and down to count as your left click in game, right? See over here, I have my window profile as Path of Exile. So when I'm in Path of Exile, my mouse wheel up and down, if I just mouse wheel once, it counts as my left click, as if I'm left clicking it over. So what you can do to very quickly move things in and out of your stash tab is hold the control down, spam your mouse wheel, and look how fast this goes. This is just mock speed. If you've ever traded currency to somebody before and you see them just fill up your entire trade window instantly and you're just like, what on earth are they using? This is what they're using, right? So if I want to get it back into my stash tab, I hold control, and all I really do is move my arm up and down while I move my scroll wheel, and you can see just how much quicker it is than just spam clicking everywhere, right? Way easier. Look how much faster it is. Like I'll spam click pretty fast. That's really nothing. And you can see here, even at a decent pace, you can get nowhere close to using X mouse button control. So highly recommend you go get it. It's going to save you a ton of clicks and a lot of time. It is legal. You will not get in trouble for this as long as you are not using an infinite scroll wheel. As far as I know, I believe that's the one thing they said that you can't do. Just don't use an infinite scroll wheel and you'll be just fine. Go grab it. All right, up next we got Awaken PoE Trade. What Awaken PoE Trade allows you to do is very quickly price items or currency that you either pick up off the ground. Maybe you craft an item, you think it's good, and you want to see what it's worth, right? So if you got it downloaded, all you have to do is hit Control D. That's the base macro. That's what I use. It pulls up a pane here, and you got some check boxes that you can use, right? Let's say we pick these up off the ground, and they rolled 70 life, 16 attack speed, and 22 suppress. Like, I know that's good, but I don't know exactly how much, right? So let's hit the search thing. Let's see what it tells us. Oh, sweet. These are worth, at least one exalt, right? So I know if I want to go ahead and sell these, if they rolled that way, I know they're worth at least one exalt. I can throw them in my want to sell tab, price them accordingly, and go about my merry way, right? It works the same way with currency, right? Let's see the ancient orbs, right? Oh, see, they're worth 11 chaos, maybe 12 in bulk, something like that. Very quickly, very easily price anything you need to price. I would not play it without it. Saves you a ton of time. So go get it. All right, so up next, we're going to touch on loot filter strictness. This is probably the most common mistake that I see newer players make when they're playing, right? They come on a filter blade, they download their semi-strict filter while they're leveling, and they just continue using it. And next thing you know, they're in yellow or red maps, still with the semi-strict filter, having to go leave the map 2 or 3 times to empty out their inventory, sell it to the vendor, go to their stash, put the stuff in their stash, go back in, rinse and repeat, right? That is absolutely what you do not want to be doing. If you're in like yellow and red maps and you're still picking up things like transmutes or scrolls, armor scraps, chromatic orb recipe items, and jeweler orb recipe items, those things are a massive waste of your inventory space and time, especially the latter two, right? The jeweler's orb items and chromatic recipe items, most of the time it's going to be at least a 2x2 or a 1x3 with chromatic, up to a 4x2. And jeweler's orbs are guaranteed to be a 3x2 or a 4x2, which when it comes to your inventory space, for how much value it adds to your inventory, it is massive. You're pretty much guaranteed when you're into yellow and red maps to fill up your inventory very quickly if you're still picking up those items, and you're getting very little gain for how much inventory management you have to do. It's absolutely not worth your time. You should be bumping up your strictness level. Pretty much, if you want something to just tell you when you should probably stricten it up, a good rule of thumb is if I'm having to leave a map halfway through because my inventory's full and go back in and finish it, my loot filter probably needs to be more strict, right? That's pretty much what you can use as a benchmark, is when you probably need to go bump up the strictness a little bit. All right, so let's quickly touch on rolling our maps efficiently and having them set up in a way that we can very quickly grab them and keep running our strategy, right? So what you do not want to be doing is rolling your maps 1 by 1 or 4 at a time or anything of that nature. Really, if you've settled on a strategy, you want to roll at least 15, 20 maps, if not more, if you can afford it, right? So what you can do here to make it simple is make it really easy to find maps you can and cannot do based on your build is use a thing called Path of Exile Regex. And on the left here are the modifiers that we do not want, and on the right are the modifiers that we do want. So we highlight the ones we don't want. For my build, I don't want Cannot Leech or Fizz Reflect. And since I'm not running like a specific Beyond strategy, I don't have Beyond selected. But if you were, you would select Beyond here on the modifiers that you do want. So we take our string, we copy it, and we put it down here in the regex portion of the stash tab search, whatever you want to call it. And then any map that's highlighted fits within the parameters that you gave down here in the regex, right? So if they're highlighted, that means you're good to go. You can run these maps. If it's not, like this one in the top left, that means it has a modifier that you did not want, or it doesn't have a modifier that you do want. So this one over here, it has Fizz Reflect. I can't run it, so I moved it off to the side. Unfortunately, it's corrupted, which means I can't re-roll it. But after you've chiseled your maps and then you alchemy orb them, any of the ones that aren't highlighted, all you need to do is either scour alch it again until it's highlighted, or if you're lazy like me, just use a chaos orb. Either way works, doesn't matter which. After you got all of your maps highlighted, then you go through and you vol orb them. And once you're vol orbed, you basically just hope most of them don't brick. A vast majority of them won't, especially if you aren't having a super tight parameter thing that you really specific things, such as Beyond, right? If you're rolling for Beyond, yeah, I wouldn't even recommend vol orbing. That's a whole different story. But that's really how you want to roll your maps efficiently. If you're using scarabs or you're using sextants in the same tab where you have all of your maps set up, I highly recommend having your maps that you're actually running in a separate tab with your sextants, maybe the scarabs that you're using. That way, every 4 maps, you grab your sextants and then you grab some scarabs and you roll, right? So here's how I basically set up my inventory when I'm rolling a set of maps, right? I got a portal scroll, some scrolls of wisdom, and then I have my map stash set up. Now, my sextants are 4 uses. So usually what I do to make sure I don't forget to use my sextants is use 4 maps at a time, right? I use my 4 maps, I come in, I put my scarabs in there, whatever I'm using to juice my maps, I put my map in and I go. Once my inventory is clear to the maps that I'm using to run, I know I need to redo my sextants. I do my sextants again, make sure my scarabs are good, and then keep going. Grab another 4 maps and go. That's really one of the more efficient ways you can go about running your maps and rolling your maps. That way you spend the least amount of time in your hideout and the most amount of time slaying some monsters. All right, so up next we're going to go over our stash tab setup. I'll preface this with, if you do not have the stash tabs that we're going to be using for this, I highly recommend buying them if you have the ability to do so. So what you're going to want to have is 1 quad tab for a dump tab, a currency tab, a map tab, a fragments tab, a divination tab, and an essence tab. Anything else such as like delirium or blight, metamorph, and fossil tabs, those are just icing on the cake. They help out, but a vast majority of the items you find in maps are going to be covered with the ones we just went over. And how we're going to have it set up is we're going to have our dump tab, which is our quad tab. We're going to have it at the very top or the very front. That's going to be the first thing we see when we open up our stash tab every time. That's the way we want it. And these other specialized tabs we just went over, they have what's called affinities. Right here, see, there's my currency tab. Affinity is a currency affinity. So anything that has a currency affinity, such as like chaos orbs or gut orbs, you can see anything in this tab right here, it will get automatically sorted no matter where we are in our stash, which is absolutely incredible when it comes to inventory management. You don't have to go to each map tab or essence tab and frag tab and put all your stuff in one by one. No, you let the affinities do it for you. So this is why we have our dump tab at the front, because all of our stuff most of it's going to be automatically sorted, right? So let's see here. I'm in my dump tab and I have some items I picked up in a map, we'll say, and I start scrolling and emptying it. What you'll see is only the stuff that didn't have an affinity got thrown in here, such as like armor, stack decks, incubators, stuff like that. All of it gets thrown in here, and everything else just got automatically sorted, which is absolutely awesome with saving us a ton of time with inventory management and organization. We don't have to go tab by tab and put everything in. We let the game do it for us. And the last thing we'll touch on here is for your dump tab, I would highly recommend right-clicking it, making it public, have set exact price on all items, and then make that price whatever price, the lowest price you'd be willing to leave a map for to make a sale. Earlier on in the league, it'll be lower. As you get later in the league, like right now for me, 50 chaos, that's enough to pull me out of a map and make a sale. Anything lower than that, I'd rather just keep mapping. What this does is it allows you to make potential sales really out of thin air from items you maybe didn't bother checking. You maybe get a PM every once in a while, like, hey, I'd like to buy that, you know, for 50 chaos. I didn't bother checking actually price the item, but I threw it in there because it's my dump tab, and I'll clean it out once it's all full. But hey, every once in a while you'll make a sale while you're running maps and stuff like that. It's enough to pull you out the map, make a sale, you make some extra currency. As well as you can kind of use this dump tab to price items for you sometimes, right? So if you put an item in there that's worth 2 exalts and it's a 20 chaos dump tab, you're going to get spammed. And when you get spammed, you know, oh crap, I got to go in there and fix that item because I clearly have something that's worth more than 20 chaos, right? I'm getting spammed by a bunch of people. It's underpriced. And then that'll tell you what exact item is you're getting spammed for, and you can go move it and then figure out what it's actually worth, right? So you can use it to not only store everything efficiently, but also help you price things efficiently and make some extra sales off the top. So I highly recommend doing that. It's just a really efficient way to make some extra cash and figure out when you maybe found an item that's worth a little more than just your dump tab price. All right, so the last thing we're going to be touching on in this video is leveling gems with your offhand weapon, right? So even though we're not using our offhand weapon, what we can do is put gems in there, level them up, vol them to level 21, and sell them. And this is one of the easiest ways to make some extra currency right off the top while you're already mapping for very little time or cost investment. All you need is a two-handed weapon with 6 gem sockets with the right color, or 2 one-handed weapons with 6 total gem sockets with the right colors of the gems you're going to be leveling up. I went with Hatred, so I have 6 green gem sockets in my bow, and I have 6 level 1 Hatreds in there. And the reason I chose Hatred is because it's an aura, and most of the time with your standard auras like Determination, Hatred, Wrath, right, your quality on the gem doesn't really matter unless you're an aura bot. So most people buying them, they're not worried about the quality of the gem, they just want the level of the gem. And this is important because this means we only have to level the gem once. If we're leveling something like a skill gem here, I have a level 20 Flame Dash that isn't corrupted. What we'd need to do if we're leveling like a skill gem where quality matters is we'd level it up to 20, we'd take it to the vendor, we'd sell it with a GCP, and in return that vendor is going to give you a level 1 20 quality skill gem. All right, so we'd actually have to level it twice and then vol orb it, or double corrupt it if you're a madman. And that means we'd have to double our time with leveling up the gem. It's likely not worth much more than a level 21 aura skill, so it takes twice as long for usually very little gain. Right? So you choose auras, you just level them up to 20 and vol them. If you get lucky, you hit a level 21. I do Hatreds, and look here, Hatreds are worth 80 chaos. So if I hit a level 21 Hatred, which I think on average is 1 in 6 per vol orb, so basically every time you level up a set, you have a good chance of getting one. You just made 80 extra chaos for basically nothing. What, 6 alterations, I think it is? Like if you purchase it from the vendor, I think it's 1 alteration, right? Yeah, I paid 6 alterations and I just gave myself a really good chance to make 80 chaos. I would say that's worth it. All right, so that wraps up the video. I really appreciate you guys watching till the end. I hope this helped you out. If it did, let me know down in the comments. Maybe drop a like if you liked the video, and subscribe if you want to see more content in the future. I'll be posting as much as I can, especially with the new league coming out soon enough. Got pushed for a week, but it is what it is. Once again, thank you, and I'll see you next time.